What's going on, everyone? This is GDC here. Today, talking about Danuel House and what the Houston Rockets should do with him moving forward, because he is 28, so he is kind of within our time frame of right now. But in terms of the future, it's up in the air right now because of what happened, obviously last year, and then the year before that, because last year he wasn't been playing too well and was pretty much injured for the entire season. So we're gonna be talking about Danuel House today, breaking his situation down and what I see in its future moving on with the Houston Rockets. So what's up, I'm JDC. If you like the video, drop it below, press the sub button. We do NBA content here, but mostly Houston Rockets. Today we got a Rockets video because I've been motivated lately. So Rockets content is gonna be coming back pretty consistently now, especially with the season opener, the preseason opener coming on Tuesday, October 5th, which we will be streaming on the channel. So if you want to check in, tune in, you guys can. It will be at, I want to say, 6 o'clock. So yeah, let's just get right into the video talking about Danuel House. So I think House, he's definitely an interesting piece on the Houston Rockets because he is pretty decent for the roster. He can shoot the three ball pretty great. Has a pretty okay field goal percentage at 40% last season, and then 35% from three last season. But in terms of his game overall, I don't know. It's interesting because David Nwaba and Danuel House are the exact same player, but in my opinion, I think David Nwaba is the better player. I mean, he did average 9 points per game, 4 rebounds, and then 1 assist last season, and then he did average 49% from the field and then 27% from three, which isn't that great, obviously, but he's not known for his three-point shooting. He's known for his defense. He's known as a hustler on the court, which is what we need. And honestly, I just trust David Nwaba on the court a little bit more than I do Danuel House. Although I will say that in the runs and the training camp clips I've seen of Danuel House, he has been looking very great. So looking at his overall stats in the previous years, I mean, before, last season, in the 2019 season, yes, he did average, actually the 2019-2020 season, he did average 10.5 points per game, so 11 points per game, did average 4 rebounds, and did average 1 assist. This was the James Harden and Russell Westbrook era, so his stats are actually very great too. He did average 36% from 3 and then 43% from the field. This was with Russell Westbrook and James Harden though, which both players had a lot of gravity because they're two basically superstar caliber players. But Danuel House would have so many opportunities to score on the offensive end and in obviously like in the corner. He was a 3-point spot up in that season. But looking at the season after that, 2021 to 2020-2021, which was last season, he only played in 36 games actually, and partly that was due to him being injured, and then him I think it was like an injury from like the previous year too, which honestly sucked because I expected Danuel House to have a pretty great year last year, and it wasn't all that. He did average 9 points per game, did average 4 boards, so basically the same thing, and then 2 assists. And we already went over his shooting splits, but only played in 36 games, which definitely was disappointing. He wasn't all that great last year, which we had a lot of players on the roster too. That was when we had still Victor Oladipo, Sterling Brown. We still had PJ Tucker at that time. And honestly, it was just very confusing to see what Danuel House's role was on the roster. And right now, I think it's still pretty confusing and up in the air until we get some news from Steven Silas or Rafael Stone. In terms of the bench, I don't really think he's going to get too many minutes, because we got Eric Gordon, we got Josh Christopher and Usman, and we also got Alperen Şengün. This really just depends on if Usman and Gruba and Josh Christopher go to the G League, because if they do, we're giving a lot of minutes to other people like DJ Augustine, Danuel House, David Nwaba. We got a lot of players on the team that could use some minutes. Kyrie Thomas, Daishen Nix. We got all these guys, but for Danuel House, I'm not really too sure how we're going to distribute minutes to him. It's going to be really confusing. That's all I'm going to say, because we also got our starter in Jae'Sean Tate at the 3. So House, he already is being overtaken by Jae'Sean Tate, who is looking to be probably one of our promising young guys on the team. He is 26, but probably like the person that's going to be holding it down on defense as of right now in terms of the starting lineup, because obviously the starting lineup doesn't have too much defense. So Danuel House is looking like he could become like a mentor, kind of like John Wall, like right now, where he'd be sitting on the bench giving the younger guys some mentorship. He is 28 years old too, which makes sense, and he's on a pretty cheap contract, so we could look to move him pretty soon. But I think overall, David Nwaba is the better decision over Danuel House. I'm all for keeping House if he somehow improves his game, because in these training camp videos, he is looking very great. I just want to see it translate to an actual NBA game, and we'll see on October 5th where they verse the Washington Wizards, because the Wizards aren't really that strong of a team in terms of offense, only having Bradley Beal and Spencer Dinwiddie. So it's going to be a huge test for the Rockets to see their new KPJ, Jalen Green lineup, and then adding in Christian Wood, Daniel Tyson, Jae'Sean Tate. And then off the bench, if Danuel House gets minutes and he starts producing off the bench, then I see him playing over David Noah, but just seeing how, productive he could be for the team and how effective he would be. So in terms of future for Danuel House, I'm giving him at least 1 to 2 years at best, depending on if he performs well this season. And even if he does perform well, probably the max would be 2 to 3 years. So hopefully we do make the right decision. I'm all for keeping House if he's productive. If he's not productive or effective on the bench, or at least in the starting lineup, then I think it's time to move on from him. Hasn't been producing too well as of late, and if he's not doing anything on the team and doesn't have a role, then he should be looked to get moved pretty soon. So that's my take on Danuel House. I think some other contending teams could use him off the bench, kind of like an Eric Gordon, who could come off the bench, give him some defense, some playmaking, some shooting, and I think he's good enough to help at least a contending team. Maybe the Clippers, maybe the Heat, maybe the Pelicans. I don't know, but hopefully Danuel House finds his way on the Rockets, and hopefully he just finds his way in general. So that's the end of the video. My name is JDC, and peace.